Good evening. Tonight, unfortunately, comes the end of Babylon's Fall. So, I kind of wanted to do a funny special stream like this for this game specifically, because tonight is the very last night that you can play Babylon's Fall before the servers shut down at some point, at least on my local time. I believe like 1 or 2 a.m. is when the servers will shut down on the East Coast, is where I'm playing this currently. But if you're not familiar with what Babylon's Fall is, it was a sort of online games as a service action RPG slash character action game from Platinum Games, published by Square Enix. It came out February of 2022, and from my understanding, I think it was February 2022. It lasted about a year, if not a little less than a year. It was either an early March game or a late February game, because from my understanding, I believe the kind of joke or the conversation surrounding this game is that it didn't even last an entire year of being in service. So um that's an interesting conversation, and that's a layered, complicated, and uh complicated conversation about games as a service and online games, and why developers continue to want to make games like this. But I really just wanted to stream this game before it vanished and have some sort of video archive of it for posterity reasons, for game preservation reasons. If I truly wanted to preserve this game in some video format, I would have streamed my entire playthrough of it. If you haven't already noticed, in the bottom right corner, it says 100% progress, 31 out of 31 trophies earned. I did play through this game entirely, at least all of the main story content. I did the the main campaign, and then the additional sort of not DLCs, but like free updates or expansions that they added to the game. I finished what was considered the campaign for the game, and I got the platinum trophy. So I spent about 50 hours on it, and I'll go over the stats in a second. But I just wanted to kind of share my final thoughts on it. Maybe do a mission or two, kind of talk about what felt good about the game, what didn't feel good, or why it probably failed, or which is not really a difficult conversation in terms of like, oh, why did Babylon's Fall fail, or why was it a commercial flop? It's kind of written on the wall. But um, yeah, I really wanted to like this game, and I'll get into it in a second. But let's just boot it up. One last night, or it's Bye Forever, Babylon's Fall. Published by Square Enix. Developed by Platinum Games. Babylon's Fall. So I kind of want to actively only play this for like an hour. Then I'm gonna walk away from the stream essentially, make my way to bedtime, sleepy times, and my joke sort of experiment is how long can this stream go while I'm sitting in the lobby until the servers disconnect me and boot me back to the title screen, or there's like a an error in the application maybe, and I'll boot me back to my homepage on PlayStation on my PS5, or will my stream crash and the whole thing will just burn out before we even get that far. So, like I said, I'm going to talk a little bit about the game, play a little bit of it just for posterity reasons, and then just sort of max the screen out. I'm just going to full screen the game. I'm going to have my character chilling out in the lobby. in the town with the cool music, and then I'm going to let fate and time reclaim my character and my progress and all of the assets and character models and templates and stats and equipment and all of that just get digitally archived on some server, probably offshore, from Square Enix headquarters. Or maybe it's just completely deleted. Who knows what they do with the data for this? No, I'm sure there's a backup. So there were some some final updates. I don't know why they even bothered, especially when they committed to removing this like 6 to 8 months ago. The third Final Mission 3 finale aggregate aggregate. The third and final entry of the Final Mission series is Final Finale Aggregate, where you hunt enemies in various types of content. Take on the challenges to acquire 2 types of coffin voices by completing the mission. Like, why would would I want any of this if it's just going to get deleted? This is one thing I'll never understand about MMOs or online games is like the attachment to. Now, while everything's disposable and you can't take anything with you when you die, like online games or MMOs, like make me think about my mortality for some reason more than any other thing that I play. Just because like it's not the like my time with the game is not in my hands. And while you could argue that is the case for like a lot of digital games, because just like Nintendo's 3DS and the Wii U eShops are closing at the end of March. And tonight's like the last night you can get like one of the Fire Emblem games, for example, digitally at least from the Nintendo 3DS eShop. So like, while like that's another conversation about game preservation versus like an online game like this is another conversation about game preservation. It all sucks and all makes you think about like how little time you have or the time you spend with something isn't technically tangible or in your hands, and it's just all depressing. So I don't even know why I play games like this, but we are running a special campaign where the rewards from all quests will be doubled to your heart's content right up to the final day of service. Okay. Rankings open for Erish Kigal very hard. This is like the final boss of the game. Of the DLC, I think. Or not the DLC, of the expansion. This is like the true final boss from what I remembered. Rankings are now open for players to complete and earning the most chapter points when they complete Erish Kigal very hard. Explore different combinations of equipment and aim for the top. I like that there's an attempt. Termination of Babylon's Fall service. We will be terminating the game service on February 28th, 2023. We sincerely apologize for being unable to meet the expectations of our players. For future details, including the schedule leading up to the termination, please check view details below. Finale marks the final season of Babylon's Fall. In addition to quality of life improvements, we are planning various events. Please enjoy. It's such a Japanese developer thing to say. Like Nintendo says it all the time. Please enjoy Babylon's Fall until the very end. And then final finale special rewards. Log in every day to receive special rewards. During the event period, various items can be acquired when logging in for the first time each day, which I did not do. Once I got my platinum, I was out. Hard out. Use the acquired items to strengthen your equipment. And then here's join a community. The last page on the sort of update splash page before you even get into the game is like join a community that's gone forever after tonight. Follow these Twitter accounts that haven't posted probably since like sometime last year. Facebook for Babylon's Fall, the game. And the Discord's probably like a fucking clusterfuck. I can't believe there was an Instagram for this game. I didn't follow that one. I did follow him on Twitter though. So here's my Valor, which is like your power level. Here's my character, my stupid character with my weapons that don't matter. My faction, which is sort of like the game's races, I guess you could say. Like think of like a Western game like Elder Scrolls, how you not only is there character class, and I guess a lot of Western RPG, it's more of a Western RPG thing. You have character classes, and then you have kind of like where the characters originated from, like what country they're from within the game's world. So it's more like like my character is a Husian, I think is how you say it. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Husian or Husian, which I think they were like ship sailor type of people. I could be wrong. I don't remember. I I don't know why I chose them, but there was something about like their origin that like spoke to me more than the other character types. Um, my level was 21. I don't know where the level caps, but I don't think it goes that much higher. Um, and my character just had whatever like was the most powerful gear on. I did not care about like what they looked like. I was just trying to get strong enough to access enough of the end game content to get my platinum trophy. So that was it. Let's just play. Oh, and I named my character Dante. So because this game is a character action game light with more RPG elements and dungeon crawler elements than like a proper Devil May Cry or Bayonetta game. Um, because this game was developed by Platinum Games, and Platinum Games has a legacy prior with Capcom, and Capcom made Devil May Cry, and Platinum Games made Bayonetta. Like I just, for some reason, I wanted to name my character Dante from Devil May Cry. That was really only the thought process for naming my character. So you have like your modern game tip screens where you're telling you about all the weapon types. This game has like a bunch of weapon classes like great axe, shields, rods, bows, hammers. I wonder if that one guy, there's people online. I'm never gonna see these people ever again, like Phil26 and Juicy Juke. There was someone, I logged in earlier just to make sure the stream would run, and there was someone named Square Enix Blows, and I took a picture of it, so I have it archived forever. I posted it on my co-host account. At least it's there for now. But this, it's a shame, because this, actually, I really like this track, too. Let me make the music a little higher. Second, sorry. Hey, this game can wait. It's not gonna wait for me much longer. BB Boy 20 has accepted a quest. This is the hub town in the game. It's very small. Bill 26 is just hanging out here. It's probably like doing the same thing I'm doing, like recording, taking pictures of his gear and his character before it all gets deleted. There's something like I've never got to experience playing an MMO or an online service game before it shuts down like this. So it's interesting. Who's this person? Oh, there's Pete Dorr. He's streaming this right now too. He's someone I've been following for a long time. Pete Dorr has a Twitch channel. He's on YouTube. He's kind of like a retro game collector enthusiast, but he plays a lot of modern games too. Repost. Why does that person sound really familiar too? I was gonna follow him until he gets on this quest. I can't believe he's playing right now, because I know he's streaming right now. Oh, that's so funny. I've been following Pete Dorr for like years. He's like a really cool dude. He's just like a really chill streamer. Just has a super big passion for games. He accepted a quest. He's probably gonna fly off. What if he's gonna... I'm gonna bow to him just because I respect him a lot. No, he's gone. He began his quest. Anyway, that was cool. I can't because I saw him. He's streaming this right now at the time that I'm recording this. Drop Dead Fred just signed in. Man, this is such a bummer. I can't believe they're. Ugh, I hate this. Anyway, you have like your. It's very utility based. There's very little like fluff in this lobby or this town area. Like you have your like kind of starting gates, some NPCs that provide some like flavor, world building text. Down here, and this is where like some of the story cutscenes initially first took place. Is this like sort of Monster Hunter like bar where you can't drink mead, I don't think, or drink beer or anything like that. But there were some story cutscenes in here, and it's not really. I guess it's a social place to an extent. Like, I don't even think you could sit down on these with, like, players that were in your lobby. You can edit your character, it looks like, so if you want to change some... I think you can change your name and, like, cosmetic appearances for your character if you want. If you really wanted to. But yeah, that's just like a little flavor text area and some story sequences took place here, but there's really nothing there to do other than like edit your character. Here's another gate that you can't exit out of. Some cool docks, because it's sort of like a harbor. There's Juicy Juke freaking out, whoever that is. This is your quest. This is one of the quest boards where you can accept the quests. Cool model of the game's tower. That's like actually Babylon's tower, I believe, on the table. I love little miniature dioramas of the like locations within the game. It provides like a good sense of place. And Sophia is a big story character. She's important to the plot, and she gives you a lot of missions as well. But that's just sort of like a war room, very Monster Hunter-like in terms of like sort of what it looks like. The main dungeon you're exploring is this tower. You can kind of see sort of hidden by the clouds and the sort of morning fog coming off the water. Trying to make this game more romantic than it is. Water's a little oily looking. Isn't surprise, I guess. Maybe some trains derailed and spilled a bunch of shit in the water, who knows. You've got, who was this person again? Pygmalion? So this person you can exchange certain items for? Let's see. I don't think you can even... No, you need like the premium currency to buy, I guess, these coffin voices. Grazius? I don't have any. I'm not gonna accidentally buy some. This is like real world currency I think you need. So I need to use like my actual money. You might not even be able to buy certain things. But one of the main sort of currencies in the game were these conch shells, like these sort of seashells that you picked up. And you can exchange them for like equipment sets, kind of starting gear sets for the player, certain base level weapons that seem to scale to a degree. So like their power level or their valor level is 235. For each weapon type, and some kind of standard stock armor that's not too powerful. That's probably just to help out new players, or was supposed to help out new players. You had blueprints, which there is crafting in this game. You don't have to do a lot of it just to get through the game for the most part, but you need blueprints. Banners were like cosmetic things, sort of like the emblems you have in Destiny. So this game is like a Japanese Destiny in terms of like some of the elements and how it's structured. I bought everything you could own, or everything that you could buy at the time from the shop. So everything already says it's already owned for me. But these are just more sort of like cosmetic things on your profile. So if like the 3 people online that were playing this game at the time jumped on to look at your profile, they could see like a special emblem that you earned or bought over like a banner on your profile. So just more kind of personalization, customization. It's like standard MMO kind of things. Nothing too fancy. You could also exchange conches for like base materials. Sort of these experience item boosters. So when you go on a mission, you can kind of activate like a booster item. So things like that. So some base materials that are also used for crafting. What was this miscellaneous items? More patterns, more customization, some emotes, some greeting, kind of very Monster Hunter-like in terms of like a sort of stylized and cartoonish sort of variations of the player character, like hello or ready or hello there or stand by, good morning, like things like that. So just like stock sort of messages you can send to other players, and then you can sell a bunch of shit. Don't gotta sell anything. I have all this crap still because it's all gonna get deleted anyway. And then this trading post, oh, so it has like a sort of appraisal, sort of like the engrams from Destiny. You could appraise. They're called relics. So there's like, you know, purple relics are legendary, and yellow relics were sort of exotics, or they call them divine items in this game. Divines are essentially exotics from Destiny, if you're familiar. So there's a lot of parallels to Destiny in terms of like how equipment's viewed and how drops are viewed. What is this? More emblems, more legendary gear. So this is like better stats, better equipment that you could exchange special things for. And then there's these. I'll have to explain those another time. Or maybe this. I mean, I only have so much time left to explain it actually. What is exchange? These are very, like, all of these, to get the platinum trophy, you had to like have a ton of magic oils, holy oils, and a few divine oils, and a lot of basic fossil oils, which are easy to get. And these were like became your end game sort of grind to purchase these or get these as drops from certain types of missions, so you could like craft or get whatever you needed to get the platinum trophy, because you had to craft a certain amount of things or get a certain amount of drops. So that was required for like the platinum. All right, let's get out of there. Who was Leto? I don't remember what this person did. Oh, he's technically like playing the music. Look at this person looking out. NPC looking out in the water. Like the last view of the tower. I gotta pick like a cool view for like how to leave off when I walk away and I leave this game streaming for the rest of the night. I gotta pick a cool spot to have my character just like farting around. Who's RPM? Who's this person? I'm never gonna see you again. Janos. These lost souls playing this game. There's reposts again. This is your crafting guy. So we have a forge, so you can craft weapons from blueprints. I did not get all the blueprints, obviously, because who knows how to get most of them. It's probably a lot of end game content to access some of like the higher crafted things. But again, I got what I needed just for the platinum. I was happy just to have the platinum trophy, because that's the only thing that's going to be tangible or viewable from a PlayStation profile, because I won't be able to log in and ever look at any of this ever again. What does it matter? I mean, if I had all the time in the world, I was in my 20s, and I still was like, you know, hardcore into Capcom games, and Platinum Games was made this at the time or something, I'd want to like unlock all of these question marks and fill out all these blueprints and do all that kind of stuff. But because I begrudgingly want to like this, so you can, same with all the armor, heads, chest, arms, legs. I won't go through all of it. I have nothing wish listed anymore. You can rebuild. Use materials to enhance your weapons, armor, and accessories. Enhancing can increase the stats as well as bestow enchantments. Let me just upgrade this legendary. Or is that a legendary? Refining. Use materials to refine your weapons, armor, and accessories. So, and then meld, you can combine, sort of like when you combine weapon or equipment, you infuse or fuse together equipment in Destinies is what you're doing when you meld. You kind of pick two weapons and it takes like the base weapon, or it takes like I think whatever you want the new equipment to be, you use like a less powerful to infuse it into a more powerful one. Something along those lines. It's very similar to Destiny. But so the game had a lot of crafting, and then there was something called a Gideon Coffin, which is like part of the story. It's this like attachment that goes on your character's back. And there were story reasons for it, but also it's sort of like allows your character to customize certain aspects. Like you have these they call it swift tethers. It's almost like a subclass to your character class in a sense. This condition passive, what are I forget what these do. These let you vault. It's called Flurry Vault 1. Boost gut work tether speed. I think so you can kind of like grapple towards enemies. So I think the more points you put into this, and you can customize it by like removing, if I move all this down, I can, you know, make one maxed out. I can only have one maxed out with my current level. It's based on your character level. So there's swift tethers, which means I guess how quickly you grapple to an enemy. Relentless wrath. Land 50 consecutive hits, boost the critical hit chance on your next melee attack. So like Relentless, this is kind of like a tanky sort of buff. So the more you're attacking, if you're just kind of relentlessly fighting enemies, you have like higher critical chance rate. And the higher rank that you kind of assign it to, like the more that it does. Dodge boosts critical hit damage. So this is rogue's focus, so like the more you do, there's perfect dodges like sort of a la Bayonetta, and the more you sort of dodge from enemies also increases your critical chance. And then restorative strike, active while item is equipped, boosts spirit siphon. Okay, so when you kill an enemy, it restores your special meter, which is used to like use your weapons. I think some of your alternate weapons have like alternate fires or kind of special charge moves. So I think this allows you to do it more often. Which was also very useful. So I'm just gonna max that out for fun. I'll just keep these all level 1. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But these were this was the aquamarine shell for the Husian. So they were like, there's multiple Gideon coffins, and they're sort of like these think of them as like sort of subclass alterations, and you can customize it, and none of it's like permanent. You can always switch things around, and there's multiple of these that do different things. So it's a cool idea, and they introduced it like way later in the game, but it's not really required for anything. And then up this alley is another gate you can't do anything with. So I'll just go over my equipment. So that was the cool thing about this game, is that it had you had like 4 weapon slots. So you have square, triangle, L2, R2. So you can almost honestly like kind of smash all 4 and use all 4 at once. Now they use up like a sort of resource, like a stamina bar in a sense, but there's equipment and accessories. Like I said, there's Gideon Coffin sort of customizations that like impact how often you can use your special weapons or your special attacks and things like that. and it's a very basic sort of elemental game too. It's almost like Diablo-esque in terms of like there's fire, ice, and lightning, and I think a fourth element. I don't remember what that's considered at the bottom. The bottom of the character sheet screen, there's like fire, ice, lightning. I have -4 in fire and -2 in lightning, so I guess I'm more susceptible to those elements. At a +3, I think that's like a holy or divine. What do they call it? I don't know if this is gonna show me anywhere. But you have 3 accessory slots that you also unlock over time, and the enchantments on them are, I guess they're randomly generated on drops, so that's like the appeal of finding, you know, good accessories, legendary accessories that have like, you know, good rolls or good drops on them. Like I have for example, where can you look at Switch info? Is there any way to like look at what? Here we go. So these are like almost Monster Hunter like in terms of like what these skills do. It's not like you need a certain amount of points to activate the skills like for Monster Hunter equipment, but it's like this accessory has unflinching resolve 1, which is 75% HP or higher. My boost feint resistance goes into effect. Or kill an enemy and boost lacerate resistance, which I'm not sure exactly what condition that is, or status type or element that is. I don't think it's really an element. I have passive boost pyro burn resistance, which I guess is like a certain type of fire status. Gradual SP regen, gradually regenerates SP. But I have to be conflicted or afflicted with pyro burn. I guess it's like a status ailment, and I restore SP if I become inflicted with that. So there's like there's a ton of ideas. Like I'm not gonna read through all of these, but there's just like a lot of like passive sort of abilities on all of your equipment. So you have accessories that Gideon coffin I showed earlier that can be customized at any time. You have equipment that does the same thing that affects 4 base stats: vitality, stability, spirit regen, and spirit. Think of it as like, I'm not gonna try to explain them. Actually, you can look that up online, or again, it doesn't matter because no one's ever gonna play this again. But same with your weapons. Your weapons have different kind of base stats: damage, critical, impact, spirit, siphon, speed. And again, your equipment is vitality, stability, spirit regen, spirit. So just think of it as like, you know, how much damage you deal, how much damage you take, or how much, how quickly your stamina bar or your spirit, your kind of SP bar regenerates, or what's your resistances to certain, you know, magic types and all that kind of shit. So it's not anything you haven't seen in other games before. There's just like there's a lot there. And the game doesn't really explain all the stats to you. I don't think anywhere. You have to kind of go online to like fully read like what everything does. But let's just pick a quest. Okay, so you have, these were like the 3 sort of campaigns. Tower of Babylon was like the main campaign, and these were all of the areas. So I'm just gonna scroll through. I was trying to get pure platinum ranks on every mission for a while, and it was actually while I was working my way up and earning the ranks like from the beginning to the end of the game. It was helping me towards like my progress for the platinum trophy, but at a certain point I just gave up. But it's sort of just like a mission quest select screen. So I'll just scroll through these. These are the levels I finished with pure platinum. Never attempted these because I never even got to that high amount of power level. So you need to be level 300, which just takes a lot of grinding to get to level or power level 300. These I could do really quick. The duel. Maybe I'll try that duel just to see what it's like. But I pure platinumed all of this. Pure platinum that. This was all pure platinum except for Let's just try this out then. I don't even know what duels are. There's like... up to 4 players could join, but no one's going to join because I never made any friends and I don't know anyone who played this. I don't know. I think it's cross-play between PC and like PlayStation, but I'm not entirely sure. But the quests are very similar to how would I describe it? Oh, it's the boss from first chapter. I haven't played in a while. How you use? Oh, it's up. Look, I forgot to play this completely. You kind of can shadow dash through shockwaves. So I guess this was a boss from the first chapter. I guess it's like a harder version. Oh my god, I keep getting knocked back. Knockback and stun is like so irritating. Wow, this is brutal. When you're by yourself, the resurrection screen is like exhausting. You just crawl around like Gears of War style until your character picks up. But see, I don't even know if I'm properly geared for this, even though the power level was like really low, considering my character is like pretty beefy. You can kind of play it like a button smasher. I'm sure there's people that tried to appreciate this game for like what it did offer in terms of like mechanics and tried to play it more, you know, learning all the systems and everything. But I kind of just played it like a whatever the highest equipment I could find, I just used. Didn't really think much beyond that. I started playing this, and I'll get into that later, but I started it when they announced they were shutting it down. So I didn't feel like compelled to like meet the game on its own terms and try to learn it, because I'm like, what's the point? It's going away. Lowered it because it was really loud. So this is probably meant to be played with multiple people. This is like pretty rough solo. Knockback is so annoying. I don't know. There probably is stuff to prevent that. I just never do. My god. So irritating. I'm also not playing, like, seriously, because I don't really care that much. Probably beat him. I hope this is like the only form. It probably is. But the biggest problem with this game is it, like, I think especially solo, I don't know if the game scales the more players that you have, or if it even scales at all, but like, it's sort of like every boss and enemy for the most part is like a damage sponge, and I'm not convinced that, like, even if I was using the proper elements, or whatever this thing technically would be weak against, or whatever best weapon types or combinations of whatever to, like, kill it quicker, like, I'm not convinced that, like, any amount of build for my character could, like, wreck this thing by yourself, more so than, like, playing with a group of people. Like, it really had to be played with, like, more people. But there's just enough, like, Devil May Cry, like, Bayonetta, Capcom, Platinum game, character action game DNA in this that, like, I would have kept playing this if I had friends that were interested in playing, or a group that kind of humorously wanted to, like, commit time to it. But it's just like a lost endeavor, and they didn't even give me enough time to, like, or anyone enough time to even, like, reconsider. Like, a year of an online action RPG live service game isn't, like, any time, especially with how crowded the space is. That was a pure, they kind of give you pure platinum medals sometimes. Like, I died and used all of my healing items, and I still got a pure platinum. You got a lot of cool shit for that. Well, let's go back to the mission board. Controllers being weird. I just want to at least record. That was one thing I wanted to do, was, like, record at least what I managed to do. Okay, let's just go straight through the list of levels. So I finished in pure platinums, and I'll just go through the things I didn't finish, obviously, as well. So here, all of this. So if you just look at the, obviously it's like when it's transparent or not, there's no metal on the sort of art screen for the level that you're going into. That means I had never played through it. So, like, I never did these two levels. I got pure platinum, best rank on all of these levels, and then the boss, obviously. That was the first tier. That was the Civic Cloister. Let's go to Thieves Cloister. All pure platinum. Some duels there. That's a short. There's probably more stuff that unlocks. See, these levels or missions sort of like branch out, unlock more the more you like play through them. So if I even finish these two, they may have unlocked more on this list, but that's like a short sort of section. So I did not get pure platinum on that level. Skirmishes are sort of like strikes. Think of them as strikes from Destiny, I guess you could say. And then you have your story quests. This is where I kind of got lazy. I did not go back to these levels to pure platinum. And then, what does this say? Available until March 5th, 2023, when the game will be offline at some point tomorrow. So that's funny. But you have these sieges. These is where you grind out like the equipment that you kind of need to like do some of the end game grinding for the platinum trophy, and if you want to get like some good materials. Sieges are sort of like a rotational activity, which again, it's really just fighting like waves of enemies. Every single fucking quest is like checkpoint to enemies, like just 3 or 4 encounters, and then with some little exploration with side paths with like a treasure chest or two, and then like a boss fight at the end of the sort of like story segment quest. And then everything else is just like waves of enemies or gauntlets of enemies or one-on-one fights with bosses. Like that's like all of the end game content. Like there's no traditional like raid type of content from my understanding. Here's the Frozen Cloister. Same deal. I never did these low level skirmishes. Gotta stop getting pure platinums. This was like a really short chapter. Got all the pure platinums. That was like a very story heavy chapter. Where you get the Pantheon Garden is where the plot twist takes place. And then Elysium, which is like the world outside of the world. Spoilers. I didn't do all this. More skirmishes and gauntlets. I got those pure platinum. So probably again, more probably unlocks. If I actually took the time to do it. Here was like the original, I think there's like the original final boss, Helioscope. 2 missions. Skirmishes, more story quests. I did those. I'm kind of bummed. I really wanted to see. So if you see in the bottom right corner, it says quest complete or quest status. Incomplete, complete. I have complete on some of them. A lot of incompletes though. That just means I've never finished at least all of the activities and sort of quests within those cloisters or those areas, like at least once. So that was my strive. Like if this game was sticking around and I had maybe people to play it with, I would want to get like pure platinum ranks on every mission. And by doing that, you probably would have so many materials and drops, and your power level would naturally increase, or your valor level, so you could take on more of the end game stuff. Like the loop is there, or it's like obviously thought out in terms of like what they were like attempting to do was very clear. It just wasn't executed very well, as I think is what, and no one just wanted to play it because the game itself isn't like the greatest playing like action RPG. And again, the scene is so overcrowded and there's so much competition. Like who the fuck, I forget when this game, like what other games came out around the same time. I think this came out a month before Elden Ring, I think, just to put it into perspective. So think of it like that. But again, you have like, I really like the simple sort of Diablo elemental, like the volcanic cloister. Your weapons, your ice weapons are like at an advantage is from, I think this is what these symbols are saying. There's like a sword with the ice symbol, which means like obviously ice would work well in a fire zone. And then there's an armor icon with the fire element, meaning like, I think if you wore fire gear or gear that gave you buffs in like fire resistance, like that's recommended is what those icons meant, I think. And the same down here, the Elysian transport area. It says electricity for both the weapon and the armor icon, which I think just means both were good. All right, and this second one, Tower of Babylon Blockade, was sort of the post-game expansion that was either there or they added. I'm not entirely too sure. But again, I didn't do all of that. I sort of started forgetting about the pure platinum ranks. Here's the unclean sector. Just looking at everything I didn't do, just so I can look back on this video someday and be like, man, in another lifetime with a certain group of people, I would have done all of this. And if the developers gave us more than 1 year to try to figure that out, and for them to figure out their own game, maybe we wouldn't be making goodbye forever, bye forever streams. Okay, so that was all those chapters, or all those sections, and then this was the final expansion. And these just keep going. I bet these really branch out. There's so much more here than than what I'm seeing. There's a bunch of stuff I didn't do here. There's all of that. And here's the last section. This is the end of the final sort of expansion they added. Alright, so that was everything that I did. That was the Tower of Babylon, the blockade zone, and the Tower of Ben. Which was a cool idea. There were like, there's other Babylon towers like in other parts of the world. So there was some neat story ideas. There was like a fun plot twist that kind of had like a, the game appears to be from like a certain time period, like sort of like Final Tactics, like Ivalice, sort of like we're building an old world on top of like an advanced civilization world. Like it had that kind of angle and that kind of like story element thing going on for it. And I thought it was cool for that, or I appreciated like some attempt at making some twists, or it's not exactly what it seems to be from playing the game. So there's one last thing I want to do, and we'll run like one regular. Let's do that now. Let's do one more mission, and then I'm going to talk through the achievement list and just kind of have a record of all of that. What should we do? I don't want to do any more duels. No duels. Is there like a... We got a stone on this mission. Let's do this level 19, power level 19 quest. So again, I could have like technically posted this quest in the lobby, and if people happen to be in this lobby and they saw that the quest was posted, they could join up, so you have up to 4 players. Or again, if you had a group of dedicated friends that actually wanted to play this, you could make that work. So the thing I did like, I liked the kind of weapons that your weapons sort of like circle around your character like familiar style. So these are the 4 things that I have assigned to like the square, triangle, L2 and R2 buttons. And again, the square and triangle weapons you can use sort of indefinitely, and they have like simple combo strings. But the weapons that are on your L2 and R2 take up, usually if you charge them, you can see the red meter underneath my health bar. Especially this hammer, if I charge it, it starts reducing it. And that's like their special attacks, sort of. You can just use them You don't have to charge them, but the more you use them, see how my red meter's going down. So that's like the way to.
What is this place? How can it be that such trees grow on the ziggurat?
Yeah, these little like conch shell. These are like I said, like a lot of the currency you need to upgrade a lot of things. And the game doesn't look like the greatest, but it's not. I don't think it's like the worst looking thing ever. It's sort of like an oil painting aesthetic to it. I wouldn't call it like cell shaded or anything, but like I mean, it looks like almost like a PS3 game to be honest. It's not the most like visually appealing game, but what I liked about it is that it reminded me of, and I wrote about this when I wrote about this game in my blog, that like it reminded me of like certain Japanese dungeon crawlers that came out like, you know, the PS3, PSP, and Vita era, like Rengoku Tower to Purgatory on PSP, or Ragnarok Odyssey on the PS3 and Vita. So like, we're basically just dungeon crawlers, like going up a tower, which is what this game is too. And they had their problems, and they weren't very popular. They were sort of one and dones. Some of them had online elements where you could play with other players.
I only caught part, but I think they
yeah, I'm still getting a gold on that.
The swamp here is
There's some light platforming.
If we get solid footing, we can cross safely.
And it's structured. It is structured like a like a Bayonetta type of game. Like you are, as you're progressing through the level, the actual encounters in the stage are called chapters, which are essentially like verses from Bayonetta, or choruses from Hi-Fi Rush, you could say. Here's a little like traversal thing, so you use this like little grappling whip to jump up. But like this next section is going to be called Chapter 2 probably, and it's where enemies spawn. So you're just kind of running from encounter to encounter, killing enemies as quickly as you can, which gives you rank and better loot depending on your rank. I guess. I don't know if the rank even means a whole lot other than they record it. But it really just comes down to time. The faster you get rid of every enemy, the higher your rank will go. Oh, I'm sorry. The rank does, if you get the best rank, you get like a unique reward at the end of the mission or the quest. Here's that soul vault, which you learn to sort of pull yourself towards the enemy. I don't know why that first encounter is so strict.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Isham?
Ah, there you are. Finding the volcanic cloister to your liking?
The galley make it a bit difficult to enjoy the scenery.
At least they haven't dulled your razor wit. Very well, very well. To business then. Have you seen Lycus around there?
Lycus? He's at headquarters, is he not?
I already checked there, I think. I take my eyes off that boy for one moment and poof, he's gone. But he did tell you he wanted to go to the volcanic cloister, yes? Could be he's not far away.
Perish the thought. A child like Lycus wouldn't last a minute in a place like this.
So it's usually just 4 encounters. And the 4th encounter is like a sort of a mini boss. And there are like different enemy types, but they're not like super interesting. I guess that was the problem. Like, even if you have like a really cool build, like the things you're fighting aren't very, like, for a game made by Platinum, I think they wanted to make it like a little bit more approachable since it was like a dungeon crawler. So it's like I said, it's character action game light enough that like it wouldn't sort of push away people who maybe don't like games like Bayonetta or Devil May Cry because they're too complicated or too difficult. It's more RPG-ish than anything else, so you can kind of just mash your way through it. And the rankings are just so like whatever. Like you do get points based on like a bunch of different categories, but I don't know if you saw that really quick, but the amount of time that took me gave me 12,000 points when everything else was like a couple in the hundreds. So like mostly, it's not always the case. If you were playing this game and trying to get pure platinum ranks in every mission, just getting through it quicker, like almost instantly netted you the best rank in the game. So we're almost at the end of this. And honestly, most missions are exactly like this. Just change the environment from like this little kind of swampy mountain to like an ice mountain to a volcano to some sort of like a drowned back alley city, a drenched city. Like that's like some of the environments were like kind of cool, but like what you're doing the exact same thing in every mission more or less. Sort of just fighting uninteresting waves of enemies. And you can like, here's like the kind of character action Bayonetta light sort of shit, like these little projectiles. You can like dash through them. It's like a perfect dash, like right here. I get some health back, I think based on like whatever I have equipped. So you know, the fact that the game has like sort of like perfect dashes and sort of invincibility frames when you dash through like attacks and projectiles, like that's enough for me to like be like, all right, like I want to play this. But the sort of like Destiny light Phantasy Star Online style MMO trappings just weren't there, and they weren't there for most people. That was the problem. Like I said, I would have stuck my feet in the ground and been like, let's play the shit out of this if I had three other people that wanted to like do the same thing. But that's finding people like that is like impossible these days because there's so many games like this, like I said, like online games for a service pulling for people's attention. No one wants to fucking play Babylon's Fall when there's Destiny and Warcraft still and any other MMO that's ongoing, or even some of the newer ones that maybe have lasted a little bit longer than others. But alright, that was the end of the mission. Whatever. I still didn't get pure platinum. You get four pure platinums from each individual chapter. Or verses or whatever. That was just a platinum rank. Got a bunch of stuff I'll never see ever again, so let's just hit X and claim it all, and who cares? Alright, so again, for posterity reasons, look at my trophy list. So I started this. Let's do earn date newest to old. Yeah. My first trophy was November 6th, 2022. I was landing a critical hit. And my last trophy was the platinum, rather, November 30th, 2022, which was enhancing an accessory to level 3, which was the grindiest thing. These last three: enhance a weapon to level 10, enhance a piece of armor to level 10, and enhance an accessory to level 3. These are only available in the post game. You can't craft certain things, or you don't have access to certain like crafting type mechanics until you actually like roll the credits on the initial campaign, which is kind of ridiculous. I think that was another one of the game's problems, that the rollout of features and sort of character building things and it's kind of simple game mechanics like didn't like become accessible until you finish the game. That probably turned a lot of people off. collecting 100 legendary weapons or pieces of armor kind of came with just playing through the game. Same with a million conches, which just seems like a lot. It wasn't like million at a time, it was like account wide. So um and the rest of it was pretty easy, like finishing all the quests. So it was like finishing all the main quests, like upgrading something to its max level, whether it's like a weapon, piece of armor, an accessory, like collecting a bunch of the game's currency and like drop types, crafting something for your first time, finding a blueprint, opening just 50 chests, collecting more stuff, um, kill an enemy with a shield, just like really simple stuff. Like the trophies weren't that bad. Send a like. This was kind of rough because like you had to play with someone, and I got really lucky. Someone was in the lobby. I put a quest up on the board, and I waited for someone to accept it, and he accepted it. And when you finish a mission, you just kind of send you can kind of like the player for helping you out. That's how you get that trophy, and that's brutal. Anyone trying to get that tonight, maybe if there is like the only thing they were missing for the platinum, is good luck. Um, yeah, so kill an enemy with each type of weapon, kind of stuff. It's not a bad trophy list, and honestly, I had about 50 hours on this game with very focused, like only on the trophies. Like I said, I just showed you like what I did do in the game, and there was so much more end game content I could have done, but like when I started playing this game, they already announced they were closing it, so I'm like, well, none of that matters. Like, why would I want to do all this content if I'm never going to have access to it ever again? So that's why I cared really only about getting the platinum trophy, just because that's like the last, that's the only indicator when looking at like a profile that will show that I played the game in some fashion or form outside of the stream. And that's why I wanted to stream this game. The last thing we're going to look at. Did someone send? No. Achievements. Here we go. So there are achievements split out between combat, collectibles, and progression. We'll start with progression. So this is what I at least wanted to do, was to finish the 3-story campaign. So this was like the original story, and then the 2 that they either added or that become available after you finish the game. I'm not sure what the case was there, but regardless, if you were playing the game sort of when they announced that they were shutting it down, like all of this was available. So I did all the story content, and the rest of it, and you get a cool little gold frame with 100. It's like 100% of that category finished, which is, for completionists, is like a really cool, nice little look. But again, we're gonna see this again. And you have a total score, like an achievement score, very similar to Destiny again as well. Then you have this quest category, which I only did a handful, but there's a lot here. You have to complete like, X amount of duels and open 500 chests. I didn't quite get there. Revive 100 allies. I never really played with anyone, really, let alone played with someone who fell or died, so I could revive them. Send 100 likes. I got my 2 likes. And then again, just complete like basically all the end game shit, like complete any duel on very hard difficulty, things like that. Action. This is probably the most ridiculous. I think you have to create a new character to do this, as it's account wide. I have like I said, my character class or type was a Husian, and you had to complete 100 quests as a Husian. And then you had a Cuftali, a Molzamite, a Galilian, and a Agavian, which were the other sort of character types you could choose at the beginning of the game. So I think to do this, I don't think you can change your character's like background. I think you have to start a new character, and that means you have to do 500 quests total if you want to get all of these achievements, which is ridiculous. That's so much playing. Forge, craft X amount, refine, meld, and enhance. Again, I think that would come with playing the game a lot, or maybe playing the game as all of those character types like I just mentioned. you would be crafting and melding, and I would be doing all of this. I crafted 4 items, never refined or melded, and I enhanced a bunch because that's what got me the trophies. I probably would be doing that more if the game stuck around, but again, oh well. And then feats, you have these are just logging in for 30 days, 10 days, and then completing 500 orders or missions. Orders are like dailies. They're like the daily sort of bounties from Destiny, and you can accept them from one of the NPCs in the town. That's like open, your first chest for the day, or kill X amount of enemies, or kill the special enemies. There were like these kind of rare enemies that would appear during certain quests, and that was another layer on top of sort of the quest list, is where like a rare spawned enemy that could drop better loot appeared randomly during certain mission types. So I got 12 out of 37 for progression. Collectibles, I nearly got them all. I collected the million conches. The trophy came with that. I nearly got all of the equipment challenges done. I just didn't obtain 100 divine items. And for whatever reason, I don't know how you get this cosmetic stuff. Obtained 3 cosmetic items, probably from the battle pass, but I barely touched the battle pass stuff. Because again, the game was, I didn't care. I just wanted my trophies. And then I got 28 out of 59 combat related achievements. So kills. I have to kill 10,000 enemies. That's like a seriously from Gears of War. 1,000 or 100,000 enemies. Jesus Christ. Kill 100 infamous enemies. That's what they're called. They're special enemies that spawn during certain levels. I don't know what warlords are. I guess they're like stronger enemies. I only got 1. Kill 1,000 enemies. Get the Slayer title. Weapons. You have to use like X amount of weapon types. You have to kill enemies with every weapon type in the game, from hammer to rods, shields, pistols, axes, swords, etc. So it looks like I used axes, bows, hammers, and swords the most, which makes sense. I was kind of playing like a warrior type-ish, but I loved the charge bows. Charge bows were like overpowered in this game. Put 2 bows that you could charge on your L2 and R2, forget about it. And then this offensive category, what was all this stuff? Landing critical hits, exploiting enemy weaknesses. So this is like activating debuffs on enemies. So this is like just kind of performing light and heavy attacks. So just playing the game, launching enemies in the air. You could like kind of juggle enemies, Devil May Cry style, not really. Knockback. Knockback's like the worst thing about this game, for the player at least. Getting knocked on the ground in this game is like the worst. It's so slow. I guess enemies took more damage from behind, attack enemies from behind. So there were some ideas here. There's a lot of like systems in this game, and a lot of like RPG sort of ideas layered that aren't totally apparent or explained. And it's just unfortunate. So altogether, I got 51 out of 110 of the achievements earned. So I did mostly half of what the game had to offer, and the rest of it was so grindy. Like it would just come from doing everything else in the game. Like I said, if I went back and pure platinumed every mission and did every activity type, like all the duels on all the difficulties that were available, like all the skirmishes, all the gauntlets, all that stuff. Like, I think a lot of this would come with that, but it's so much. It's probably like hundreds of hours of grinding. And again, like, I started playing this last November, and I got my platinum at the end of November, so a little bit after Thanksgiving. And the game was going to stick around, and it wasn't if they were going to turn it into like an offline version and let you play, maybe do all of this by yourself if you wanted to. I probably would have kept chipping away at it or revisiting it from time to time. I don't dislike this game. Like, I didn't think it was horrible. I just didn't think it had a chance, or didn't really receive a chance from anyone or get a chance. And it was a little misguided. So yes, orders were daily bounties, I believe. Yes, these were like your bounties you could pick up, killing a certain amount of enemies, picking up chests, etc. And then what were missions again? Missions were your daily, weekly, and seasonal. So what was this completionist thing? Oh, So these were like, and you got more rewards again, like crafting materials and boosters for quests and stuff. So you had your daily things that you could do every day. Obviously, you have your things you can do every week, which again were just more like kind of um, engaging with everything the game had to offer in terms of like killing enemies, playing all of the activity types, crafting things, enhancing things. Then you had your things to do over the seasons. So seasons were, I think, very again similar to Destiny. They were like maybe 3 months, if not a little bit more than that, maybe longer, because there were only, what was this considered, the final season? They called this the this was season 3. So you know what? Maybe seasons were a little longer than 3 months. But before, again, very similar to Destiny, you had a free and a premium battle pass. So like, depending on all of those orders and missions that you would complete would give you BP or battle pass points, and you would unlock certain rewards at certain tiers, and it would go to 100 just like the battle pass and like any other game that exists that's an online service game. This cool axe you got. Didorus's broken axe. The shattered head of Didorus's battle axe, forged from Babylonian steel, an ancient alloy of unparalleled quality. See, that's like, these descriptions are going away. There's so much little things that just aren't preserved. There's like all the writing, all of the dialogue, and the script, and the voice acting that was recorded, all of the music compositions, and the soundtrack's pretty decent. I don't know who the composer is, but the music was definitely like one of the better things about the game. Got 200,000 conches at level 96, but they removed the premium battle pass for the final season, so you would get rewards for every slot on the premium battle pass, but not, but only for the last 2 seasons, I guess. I guess because they knew the game was going away, they weren't going to ask people to like potentially buy something that like they had such little time to engage with. So this game made it to season 3, and another kind of funny thing about tonight is that tomorrow Destiny 2 is going into its 20th or 21st season with the launch of the Lightfall expansion. That's the other MMO live service game that I play, and I've been playing it since launch. I haven't really stopped playing. So it's just sad. It's kind of a bummer, and it just makes you think, like, you know, some games live on and continue to live on, and obviously Destiny is like a really well-made game, a well-made shooter for one. It's probably the best feeling, best playing first-person shooter, let alone online, you know, MMO light sort of game. And that game's had its ups and downs and problems over the years as well. But Bungie obviously was committed to it, and they have a lot of money and backing. And I don't know like the financial sort of and development history or details with this game. So I think when Platinum said and Square Enix said they were closing this game, despite it being a failure, they were still committed to making more games like this, which I don't think they should. Like, if any developer is ever going to watch this archive anywhere, or is anyone's watching this ever who works on games like this, just don't. There's like, the games that have made it for a reason, and will continue to exist until they don't. And then those teams and those developers will go on to make something that probably will exist again or continue to exist. But a lot of these like developers that don't traditionally make games like this, the market is just so brutal, and there's only so much time and so much mental capacity for an online service game like this, that no matter what pedigree you have, like Platinum Games, like former Capcom people, a lot of new young blood there. They make some of the best character action games. Say what you will about Bayonetta 3. They're still like a really competent developer. Pete Dore's character is like really fucking beefed up. I just don't know why developers continue to like dig their feet into making something like this, even with the prospect of, you know, people just spending real money for premium currencies or whatever, or the sort of like marketplace kind of nonsense. This game didn't even last a year, so what makes you think you could do something like this again? And people are gonna trust you enough to continue to support it when you close your game down in a year. Like there's no trust. Like for a game like this coming from Platinum Games especially, I don't trust it for a second. Which is a shame. All right, so can I do like an emote indefinitely? Or does it end? No. Is there any like, I just want to like have my character hanging out. So what we're gonna do. Hey James, how are you? You caught me sort of at the end of the stream. I'm about to do something kind of funny. Let me see. I want to equip a, here we go, emotes. Is there like an emote where you're just like sitting on the ground? No, I don't have any more. Damn it. You just called me at the end of almost the end of the funeral, solid state. So what I was planning to do, I just went on my whole spiel about like I ran through 2 missions. I talked about like what I liked or what I disliked about the game or why I think it failed or yada yada yada. And I showed off my character and like what I accomplished with the game. Like I got the platinum trophy before it shuts down tonight. But my plan was to, I'm not going to play this all night. I think the game shuts down 1 or 2 a.m. my time, Eastern time at the moment. So what I was going to do if the stream stays up, I can't play this all night. I got to work. This week's kind of packed for me. I don't want to stay up all night playing this, obviously. I was just going to let the stream go until the stream crashes or the server shut everything down. So I was just going to hang out in the lobby and go full screen on the game. Just have my character sort of like looking out. Oops. Looking out into the ocean at the tower and then letting the servers claim all of my data and my progress. But there's still people playing this tonight, probably for the same reasons, sort of just kind of getting their last licks in. Like Dippin' Dat and Lucky Stray. I want to be like looking at the tower. I'm having drift on one of my PS5 controllers. Like my character is moving when I'm not moving the analog stick, which is really frustrating. What's a cool shot? Hold on. Maybe that. Maybe just leave it at that. This is what I was gonna do. The game doesn't kick you to the title screen, I think, if you're just hanging out in the lobby for whatever reason. So I'm going to take advantage of that and just full screen the game and let the servers shut down and let the stream keep going all night. I'm going to, like, you know, mute my mic, turn the camera off, and just kind of, like, walk away. And just have some sort of digital preservation of the game shutting down, just see what happens in the next few hours. So I'm thinking the game goes offline at 2 a.m., but I don't know for sure. And I don't know if it's going to give me an error message, or if it's going to boot me back to the title screen, or if the application is going to, like, you know, glitch out and kick me to the PlayStation's home screen, or what's going on. But yeah, like, just to kind of sum it up, I love Platinum Games. I think this was a novel attempt at making a live service sort of Destiny-like, but making it an action RPG with some very character action light elements, with, you know, all of the online service garbage trappings like premium currencies and, you know, free and premium battle passes. You have your dailies and weeklies, and you have your color-coded armor. You know, you had your blues, your kind of uncommon or your more common equipment, and then your purples for legendary and gold for with this game called, like I said, divine, when they're really just exotics from Destiny. So it hit all the marks. But it just wasn't either meant to be. Quality of the game just didn't speak for itself. I don't think it's a terribly playing game. Like I said, it occupied, I said this earlier, but it occupied a space in my head for games like that were on PSP, like Japanese action RPG sort of dungeon crawlers that felt sort of inspired by Diablo in a sense. Like, this game feels like an old, like, Diablo 1 in terms of, I mentioned this as well earlier, it had like 3 elements. It's like fire, ice, and lightning, which was like, I think the elements that were in, at least it was like fire and lightning in Diablo 1. Anyway, it's a low, what I like to call like a low idea game, where you have, I mean, it has a lot of stats, and some of the stats are confusing. It's not clear what does what. There's a ton of passive abilities that are sort of like layered on equipment, but it has that kind of like first entry, kind of like small ideas sort of perspective, or sort of like flow or structure to it that I kind of appreciated. But it reminded me of games like Rengoku Tower to Purgatory on PSP, like I said. Was it Ragnarok Odyssey on PS Vita or PlayStation 3? Just like cool Japanese dungeon crawlers, where, like, I mean, this game was literally just about like going up a tower. And you would gear up and go out with people if you had friends, or you managed to rope people in, guilted people into playing with you if you were lucky enough to do that. But I spent 50 hours, got the platinum trophy, got to see at least the story quest line, but I didn't do all the post-game, end-game stuff, because when I started playing it, they had already announced they were shutting it down. So again, I just didn't feel it was necessary to spend any more time than I had to, other than getting that nice little platinum. So I'm happy I got to see at least Platinum Games' first attempt in the live service realm. I really hope they don't do something else like this again. I think it's just like a failed endeavor. I understand the need or the desire to as a creator and as a company. Like, I'm sure they say they want to keep doing it, but I'm sure that might be coming from like an investor or from some higher up saying, like, you know, we need to crack this type of game no matter what, even if it fails. But when they do announce their next live service game that's like this, you're going to believe I'm going to be like kind of side-eyeing it and being like, well, will I even be able to play in a year? Who knows? So, yeah, so this is a kind of an experimental, weird stream, sort of like a reflective stream on the state of the industry, like my thoughts on this game makes me think about like my mortality as well. Like, there's something very, even though all playing games and like the progress you make on them is so intangible, and it's just data online, whether it's saved on like a memory card or like a hard drive that you can physically pull or physically touch or look at. Like, can't touch your data. You can't take any of this with you when you die. And while you can say that about anything that you play or any game that you play, there's something even more kind of like life stealing to an MMO game than any other type of game, because I'll never be able to look at this ever again after tonight, other than this, you know, people who manage to archive and upload videos and playthroughs online. So whatever. I could talk about this for hours. Like, this is the whole game preservation sort of you know, mortality, life and death, getting older. You know, it's just it's a shame. It's a shame that things are the way they are. That's Babylon's Fall. I'm gonna max the game screen out and then walk away, and if the stream crashes, then good riddance, Babylon's Fall. And if it keeps going till the servers kick me out, then as I said at the start, Babylon's Fall. Bye forever.